All right, UFO believers, listen up. You may well be vindicated. We are back with an out-of-this-world town square and a new book out later this week. Government officials, pilots, and scientists going on the record about their own close encounters. Michio Kaku, professor of physics at CUNY University and host of Sci-Fi Science on the Science Channel, got to read the book early, and he joins us with a review. Quite simply, Professor, do unidentified flying objects without question exist?
95% of all UFO sightings can be immediately identified as the planet Venus, weather balloons, weather anomalies, swamp gas, you name it, we've got it nailed. It's the 5% that give you the willies. 5% remain totally unexplained.
And you're saying to 5% unexplained to the point where they are legitimately an unidentified flying object.
And we're talking about generals. We're talking about Air Force pilots. We're talking about governors of states that claim that, hey, this is beyond our understanding of the laws of physics.
Can I have an unidentified flying object that is not necessarily from some other place?
It's possible, but we've looked at all the alternatives. These are multiple sightings by multiple modes. In other words, pilots, eyewitnesses, radar, visual sightings. These are very hard to dismiss, the handful of sightings. One over Alaska, another over Belgium, another over Iran. The handful of things that still cannot be explained defy known laws of physics.
Episode on the 17th of November 1986. Involving Japanese Airlines Flight 1628, high above the Alaskan tundra.
It involved an investigation by the FAA. This is an official government investigation of the sighting itself.
The events of that night were captured on tape.
Spinner 1628 heavy, military radar advises they are picking up an intermittent primary target behind you, in trail, I say again.
The Boeing 747 cargo jet was on a routine flight from Paris to Tokyo, cruising at 600 miles per hour at an altitude of 35,000 feet. It was headed towards Anchorage, Alaska, to refuel. Suddenly, at 5:11 p.m., Captain Kenju Terauchi, a pilot with 29 years flight experience, saw three large, fast-moving, unidentified objects 2,000 feet below. The largest object was described by Captain Terauchi as resembling a shelled walnut. Captain Terauchi said that the main craft was twice the size of an American aircraft carrier.
Co-pilot said it was as solid there as if you were seeing an oncoming jet with its lights on, except it wasn't an oncoming.
After several minutes of observing the UFOs, the pilots realized that the objects were now matching their speed, 600 miles an hour, and tracking them. The captain reported that the objects began, quote, making moves that are impossible for any man-made aircraft to perform. Then, without warning, two of the smaller craft suddenly rose and shot directly in front of the pilot's window. The objects came so close to the aeroplane that Captain Terauchi recalled that the intense glow made his face feel warm.
All of a sudden they appear and they're traveling right in front of the aircraft. And they were sort of wobbling back and forth as they moved. They seemed to be only 1,000, maybe 2,000 feet in front of the aircraft and traveling at 600 and some miles an hour.
At that very moment, their radio link to Anchorage went dead, leaving the aircraft flying blind. A horrifying catastrophe was seconds away when the UFOs rose and veered left.
Deviate from some object, heading 240. Spinner 1628 heavy, deviation is approved as necessary for traffic. It's quite a big, like a formation.
In his official FAA report, Captain Terauchi said we had to get away from that object.
Spinner 1628, sir, do you still have the traffic?
Disappears, Spinner 1628.
Spinner 1628, I understand you do not see the traffic any longer?
Okay.
Moments later, an urgent message came in from Elmendorf Air Force Base. The unidentified object had now appeared on their radar.
Yeah, that's 1-2 again. We have confirmed there is a flight size of 2 around your 1550 squawk. One primary return only.
Okay, where is he following him?
It looks like he is, yes.
Okay, stand by.
The phrase flight size of 2 indicated that JAL 1628 had uninvited guests.
1628 heavy, military radar advises they are picking up an intermittent primary target behind you, in trail, I say again.
Immediately after this confirmation, the FAA requested that the Air Force scramble jets.
Do you have anybody to scramble up there, or do you want to do that? Oh, we're going to talk to your liaison officer about that.
It's starting to concern Japan Airlines, actually 360 now, and still falling.
Yeah, okay, we'll call the military desk on this.
Although the military desk took no action, JAL 1628 landed safely in Anchorage at 6:20 p.m. Extensive media coverage around the world has helped make this incident one of the most widely reported UFO cases in history. The JAL case continues to inspire debate about the nature and intent of the objects that tracked the 747. To this day, it remains a mystery.
The Japan Airlines 747 had a saucer go around it. The papers mysteriously disappeared from the FAA office.
The 30th of January 1987. Only 2 months after the JAL report, a similar UFO event took place in Alaskan skies. But this one involved the US military. A US Air Force KC-135, flying from Elmendorf Air Base in Anchorage to Eielson Air Force Base near Fairbanks, reported a chilling UFO-related incident at 20,000 feet.
Traffic force around 1 o'clock. Can't really tell the distance. Seems to be about full altitude. Actor 29, negative. I have no traffic and you're 1 o'clock.
The pilots reported that the object was strikingly similar to the UFO seen by the JAL flight, a massive, disc-shaped, noiseless object larger than an aircraft carrier. Seconds later, Anchorage Air Traffic Control asked whether the KC-135 still had the object in sight. The pilot replied yes, and added that the object was now only 40 feet from his aircraft. The recent incident involving JAL Flight 1628 even came up in their cockpit recording.
We're from California, just visiting up here. People see this sort of thing a lot other than Japan Airlines type. Actor 29, it's very rare seeing the lights up there.
30 minutes later, the Anchorage control tower passed on a message from the local FAA office.
Actor 29, the quality assurance staff at the Anchorage Center here requests you give them a call after you land at Eielson. That is concerning the object we're looking at? Affirmative, sir.
The 31st of January 1987. Less than 24 hours after the KC-135 encounter, yet another UFO-related incident occurred in the skies above Alaska. The pilots aboard Alaska Airlines Flight 53 witnessed enormous, bright, disc-like objects tracking their aeroplane. Ground control stated that no object was visible on radar, but it was the speed of the UFO craft that alarmed the pilots.
They had just underneath our radar, picked up the blip. He's moving about a mile a second. Just pull out straight ahead of us, just disappeared. Man, he was there and then he was gone.
If you're a pilot and you report a UFO sighting to the FAA, you might as well turn in your license the next day. The FAA, the military, even civilian authorities don't want to know about UFOs. One of the most incredible stories you'll ever hear is the story of Parviz Jafari from the Iranian Air Force.
It is approximately 11 p.m. on September 18, 1976. Citizens of Tehran, Iran are frightened by a large lighted orb circling above them. These are not the standard helicopters, military jets, and civilian aircraft which frequent the Iranian skies. At this time, Iran is a major U.S. ally in the Mideast. This is still 3 years away from the Islamic Revolution and the Ayatollah Khomeini's rise to power. Because Iran shares a border with the Soviet Union, the U.S. military provided training and state-of-the-art F-4 Phantom fighters to the Iranian Air Force.
The F-4E was what was used in the Jafari case. At that particular time, it was probably one of the best jets that could go out to do aerial engagements.
Shown for the first time on American television, the following are scenes from an Iranian TV movie about this UFO encounter. It starred some of the actual military personnel involved in this event, including Parviz Jafari, and used the actual control tower transcripts. Numerous UFO reports continue to come into the control tower at Mehrabad Airport. These are not military or commercial aircraft. Hussein Peruzi is in charge of the air traffic control tower. He has heard enough and notifies the Iranian Air Force.
At
11:31 p.m., they scramble an F-4 from Shiroki Air Base, located in Hamadan, 175 miles southwest of Tehran. The first pilot, Captain Aziz Khani, takes off to investigate the object. 10 minutes later, the base orders another F-4 to be scrambled, this one piloted by Parviz Jafari.
Jafari was a major at that time, and he was vectored to intercept a strange light that was over Tehran.
I'm Parviz Jafari, a retired general from Iranian Air Force.
Jafari estimates the object is as large as a Boeing 707 jet.
He followed the light towards the Russian border when suddenly an object broke off from the light and headed towards Jafari's own plane.
I turned toward it. I put it on my 12 o'clock. I got close to it, and you can't imagine, all of a sudden, it jumped from here to here, just like that.
Based on his location, Jafari estimates the object has traveled almost 28 miles to his right in the blink of an eye. This movement was well beyond the capabilities of any man-made object.
I asked the tower if they have any flight. They said no, they don't have any flight overhead.
As Jafari continues his approach toward the object, he witnesses something incredible.
Something like a moon came out of it.
A second object came out of the first
Another object below the horizon and started flying toward me.
This second orb-like object descends from beneath the triangular lights and races toward Jafari's F-4. Although Jafari is traveling at supersonic speed, this incoming craft streaks by his jet and circles him as if he's standing still.
Now imagine I'm flying to a speed of close of sound and something circling around me.
After circling Jafari's aircraft, the second orb now returns to the larger diamond-shaped craft, still hovering approximately 25 miles in the distance. For a moment, Jafari thinks he is out of danger, but to his astonishment, another orb has descended and is streaking directly toward his jet for the second time. Jafari now believes he is under attack. He reaches for his instrument panel to arm and fire an AIM-9 heat-seeking missile. But what happens next shocks him.
Green and red light should be both on so I could fire. When I looked back on the left side of the instrument panel, the weapon panel was out, no light on it.
Jafari believes that in the heat of combat with this UFO, it sent a massive pulse of electromagnetic energy toward his plane, temporarily of the onboard electronics, including the navigation equipment, avionics, and weapons systems. With a disabled missile system and no way to defend against this unknown object, Jafari considers ditching his plane.
I thought if it comes closer than 4 or 5 miles, I'm going to jump out.
But before Jafari has to make that fateful decision, the object reverses direction and once again returns to the larger craft.
When it moved away from me, I could see the main object dead and went right underneath of it and disappeared.
Having just endured a harrowing engagement with multiple UFOs over the dark skies north of Tehran, Major Jafari decides it is no longer safe to continue tracking this mysterious diamond-shaped object. He is granted permission to return to Tehran, but as he descends, he realizes a second chapter of his encounter is about to unfold.
When I was on descent, again another of these round shape was chasing me.
As Jafari descends for his approach to Mehrabad Airport, he sees another small object chasing from behind. On his final approach, he looks over his shoulder and witnesses the object descending toward the desert floor.
I could see all of the sands on the ground. It was so bright, so bright.
Jafari is diverted from landing and is ordered to identify the object that has appeared to touch down near the airbase. According to both military and civilian eyewitnesses, the object is believed to have crash-landed just outside of Tehran, Iran.
In a very fancy speed toward the ground, which I thought I will see a very, very big explosion. But it didn't happen. The object came right on the ground and stopped there.
Upon landing at Mirabad Airport, Parviz Jafari knew he would have to soon debrief his commanders about the night's events. What he didn't realize is that the Iranian military weren't the only ones interested in his encounter.
One of the American colonel was listening to me, writing, taking note.
How deeply was the CIA involved in this case and its cover-up?
When Jafari landed, there were American CIA agents and an Air Force colonel waiting for him to debrief him.
Seen on television for the first time ever, the unclassified official military report. Why did this document go all the way to the White House? And what was found the next day at the crash site? Over Iran in 1976, Major Parviz Jafari has a harrowing dogfight encounter with what he thinks is a UFO. Upon landing, he was debriefed by high-ranking Iranian military officials. There was also an American CIA agent present. The agent filed a report, which is now unclassified, that was distributed to the CIA, the Air Force, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and the White House. It was titled, quote, "Iran reported UFO sighting." According to the report, a UFO was seen about 11 p.m. on September 18, 1976. Besides Jafari's sighting, the control tower received, quote, 4 telephone calls from citizens living in the Shemiran area of Tehran, saying they had seen strange objects in the sky. Some reported a bird-like object, while others reported a helicopter. There were no helicopters airborne at that time. The report details and confirms Jafari's sighting, including the loss of his avionics. Quote, "As the F-4 approached a range of 25 nautical miles, he lost all instrumentation and communications." The report further confirms that 2 objects were seen, one as big as, quote, "a 707 tanker," and again, quote, "the second object headed straight toward the F-4 at a very fast rate of speed," and then, quote, "the pilot attempted to fire an AIM-9 missile at the object, but at that instant, his weapons control panel went off," and then, quote, "initiated a turn and negative G dive to get away." In a very curious ending to this event, the Department of Defense report says that the next day, the crew was taken by helicopter to an area where the object was seen to crash land by local residents. According to the report, the landing area is, quote, "being checked for possible radiation." Further information about this case either never came or remains classified.
I saw it, so I have to believe it.
So then, by that definition, does this confirm the existence of life on other planets, in your opinion?
I wouldn't go that far. We need alien DNA or an alien chip. That would nail it to the wall right there. We don't have that. We don't have the smoking gun. But this book is as close as you're going to get to the smoking gun. We're talking about senior military officials who were involved in the investigations of these incidents saying we are clueless.
If you were to look at those who argue, well, hang on, there's no way that they could get here from some other planet, that the technology doesn't exist, the stars are too far away, you rebut that sort of thinking with what?
Those people assume that there may be 100 years ahead of us, in which case it's impossible for them to reach us. But If they're 1,000, 1,000,000 years ahead of us, then new laws of physics begin to open up. So we have to open our mind to the possibility that they're not just a super version of us, that they could be thousands, millions of years more advanced.
Why would they not then pay us a visit in a way that is more recognizable? Go visit the White House, maybe stop out to Yellowstone.
My point of view is if you're walking on a country road in St. Anthill, do you go down to the ants and say, I bring you trinkets, I bring you beads, I give you nuclear energy, or perhaps maybe you step on a few of them? If they're that advanced, maybe they simply are not that interested in us.
All right. Listen, Professor, it is an absolute pleasure. If we have any strange sightings, at least now I know who to call.